I mean, I can only, like, 8-inch heels are like my max. I can't do like 12-inch. I just bust my ass. Twist an ankle.
Yeah. Whatever.
You know, and it gets harder too, depending on the race that you're running. I mean, it used to be 10 years ago, you wanted to run for school board, you gathered up $300, you printed signs 7 days before the election, put them out in your neighborhood, and you would get elected. And now we see some school boards where people literally have to raise $20, $30, $40,000 to get elected to a school board or defend their school board seat. And you talk about raising that kind of money for that race in a 2016 presidential time, or even in the off years when we're going to have, I mean, think about 2018. We're going to have all of our statewide. We're going to have a Senate race, congressional races again. And the lower you are down in your race, a lot of times people just don't have money. I mean, I gave my money to, the governor candidate. I gave my money to the Secretary of State, or, whatever race is the big one. A lot of times people they're tapped out. So,
right.
You're fighting for every dollar literally nowadays when you need to fundraise. And that's something that we, have to stress as well.
Unless you're a Republican for Corporation Commission, then you get funded by APS.
I don't know. Some of the Democrats that we saw at state committee, just the literature that they had running for this seat they were running for, I was like, I want the money you spent just on your fucking literature.
The state committee stuff for running
but you're for fiscal,
you're
for fiscal,
yeah,
whatever, and you spent
fiscal
how much
whatever.
on these thick, beautifully colored, double-sided flyers.
Cards, that got that were mailed at 25 the first 40.
I mean, I'm not
something.
trying to be
know.
a shit, but I mean, if you're
yes,
going
you
to
are.
be one
You're
way,
always
don't.
being a shit. We know that. We
No,
understand that.
I'm not a shit. I'm an asshole.
No, I'm the asshole. You're the shit. Get it?
Don't
you're
you raise your
shit.
eyebrows at? Don't you do that?
Okay, so back to running for office and stuff, since we kind of tangented there. I tell you, alcohol will do that. So now we've already actually met somebody who's already started running for superintendent of public instruction. She's an actual teacher and everything. What is she teaches?
Oh, Kathy.
Yeah, she teaches speech pathology at
Jesus.
She's special education.
Most people can't even spell speech pathology.
I can't even say it.
You can barely say it.
Yeah. But so one of the things that we've been talking about is trying to get people to start earlier. Okay, because you can start getting your nomination petition signatures now. If you're running clean, you can't start getting clean election funding or clean election donations until probably late August, early September.
But you can track all the people that signed your petitions,
But
and then you can call them later.
You can get seed money if you're running for clean election. You can start getting seed money now for clean elections, and you can start fundraising for traditional if you file and everything with the Secretary of State's office. So is that one of the things that you guys teach at Emerge, is try to get started early so you have more time to build up your base, your volunteer system, your funding, etc.?
So I think it depends on a number of factors. The first thing is I think it depends on the race. If this is a race where, let's say you're in a red district, you're going to single shot one seat to hope that you can, maybe pick up a seat or pick off a current Republican elected, then I think you can just, have conversations. You don't necessarily need to declare unless you really want to start raising money right at the beginning, and just kind of maybe do a little bit of a wait and see attitude. If you're going to run for something where, and I'm going to use LD24 as an example, we have an open seat. Leela's termed out in the seat, has declared for Senate. Katie Hobbs is running for Secretary of State, so that opens up a House seat in LD 24. I see potentially somewhere between 5 and 10 people running for those slots.
Right, yeah. It seems it's just like us out here. I mean, because in our red district, we always have 6 Republican candidates for House and 1 or 2 Democrats.
Yeah, so if this ends up being, 5, 7, 10 people running, and we already have, the incumbent is Ken Clark. Clearly, he's running again, but we already have 2 other people declared. You don't want to wait until next February to hold up your hand and say, I want to run for LD 24 House, because by then it'll be too late. I use the example of the gubernatorial race 4 years ago, 3 years ago, before next year, Scott Smith. Scott Smith waited way too long to get into the gubernatorial race. I think he had a lot of support. He had a lot of money. But he waited too long. And by the time he got in, people had already committed to Governor Ducey or one of the other candidates. And he came up and everybody's like, dude, you waited too late. So.
What the fuck is that?
Wow, that was annoying, wasn't it? Sorry about that. I was trying to get to...
Were you watching a recipe on Facebook?
No.
Because that about blew up my eardrums. Sorry, Rebecca.
Sorry about that. That just all of a sudden went blue. Wow, that was weird. Okay, go ahead.
So
Sorry.
I think it depends on the race, and I think it also depends on the circumstance. And, the other thing that we try to encourage our people from Emerge is you also need to be realistic. I mean, there are people who are going to get in a race where the numbers clearly show you're not going to win. Or, maybe you're challenging a Democratic incumbent that's just not holding muster in your opinion, but they have a huge name following. It's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So, I think people also need to be prepared for reality.
Right.
We never say don't run, and I don't think it's incumbent upon individuals or party to tell someone that they cannot run. I mean, if you meet the criteria and you want to do it and you get your signatures in, you can run. I mean, that's the way it works. But if I decide tomorrow I want to run for school superintendent, and 4 weeks later, let's say David Garcia announces that he's running again, I'm not going to win. That's the reality of my resume versus his when it comes to education.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I'm not a teacher, so somebody would say, well, teacher, non-teacher, not going to happen. So, you just have to be aware of what could be coming down the pipe when you announce so early. I think is my point.
Right.
Because you could announce today and run a campaign for 6-7 months, and then somebody could get in that the party and people just absolutely adore and love, and you're kind of left hanging sometimes. We've seen that happen in past.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a bit. But let's remember that the non-teacher actually won superintendent of public instruction last 2014. So weird how that works. Now, speaking about that, though, do you encourage your Emerge members who are in districts that are heavily red to go ahead and run?
If that's what they want to do, absolutely.
Because, I mean, we're in such a red district that trying to find people to run out here is just a pain in the ass because, of course, the chances of winning are so small. But regardless of whether they're small, giving people a choice and making people understand that you don't have to what's a good word? Take it up the main street.
No more Deadpool for you.
Yeah, there's always an opportunity, even if it's a slim opportunity, to try to make a change. And I guess it's whether or not a person can be dedicated to actually run, knowing that the chances of success is so small.
In some races, it can be, but maybe you look at the landscape, and maybe you start off at a school board race that is not necessarily partisan, and you sit on that for 2-4 years. You really get your name ID built up. You do things in the community, and then people realize, wow, you're not such a bad person. Well, you know what? I'm going to run for legislature because I think it's time for a change. You know what? I like the things you've done in our community for our school board. I'll support you in that. Because I think last election showed us we can't just be Republicans and Democrats anymore. We have to stand up for our way of life. And, and I'll be honest with you, there's some Democrats out there that do things I'm not happy with. So, neither party is perfect. But I think we have to start speaking to our constituents in every place about humanity and treating each other with respect and what you're going to do for your community as opposed to political parties.
So we need to be more issue-based rather than party-based.
Yes. And those issues, those conversations will begin to resonate. I think people are much more open to listening now, and those conversations will start to resonate a heck of a lot more, I think, now than they did, last year, 2 years ago, 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's one of the things that we've been trying to concentrate out here, is more towards community and what the Democrats out here can do for the community, as opposed to, okay, who's going to run again? Because I think that we've spent so much time in this state of who can we get to run for this, that, and the other, as opposed to actually saying, okay, we're the party of the people, yet we don't do anything locally to try to change our community, so that all they see us is as Democrats. They don't see us as neighbors. They don't see us as people in their community. They see us as a political person. And we have to change that. Yeah. We have to start making people see that, yes, we want to help bring in food for the food drive, and we want to help clean up the neighborhood that's really, really bad off, and we want to have a clothing drive to help, children that are low-income families. And until we actually start focusing on that as opposed to politics, they're still going to treat us as the enemy.
Well, maybe we need to change the language. Everyone's like, oh, you guys are politicians. No, we're a couple of fucking pissed off citizens that don't like the way things are, and we don't feel represented.
Messaging has always been a Democratic Party problem.
Well, yeah, because they don't have it and they're not consistent. Yeah, they suck at it. But, I mean, seriously, if you try to make it more about humanitarianism versus a party thing, like we were talking about doing a local, soup kitchens or food drives or just something within the community, as opposed to, it's the Democrats versus Republicans. Well, you know what? Maybe the Democrats are going to do something, and they're going to make the Republicans either put up or shut up.
Well, maybe. I mean, and that's the thing, is it's something that needs to be worked on at all levels. Now, with Emerge, I mean, do you guys go into that kind of thing where you actually talk about how to build your in your community as opposed to just building for politics?
No, we do, and we actually have a segment on looking at your city and your county's boards and commissions, being a spokesperson in your neighborhood association. I mean, I'll tell you this, we've got a couple issues happening in our neighborhood right now, and people don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, Libertarian. They don't care. All they want to know is, where are you on the side of this issue? And that's going to meetings like that and being passionate about your community, passionate about what's happening in your own neighborhood, getting involved in your city's boards and commissions or your county's boards and